What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com, host of the Sports Card Strategy Show. Welcome to Lefty Cards right here on the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network, discussing the latest trends, best practices, and insider tips on sports card investing. This episode is brought to you by NoOffSeason.com, the number one place to make money flipping sports cards. Get a free 30-day trial today at NoOffSeason.com. And now, everybody, it's time for Lefty Cards.
Man, Turner, that Feeding the Ducks music just hits a little different on a Monday night, my man.
Beautiful.
We got some good content ahead of us for the next 45 minutes. You're going to be locked into the Lefty Card Show. Welcome. If you're listening from part of the NoOffSeason.com fam, if you are listening to us coming from the Sports Card Strategy Show, or for any other of the shows in the NoOffSeason.com fam, we want to say hello. My name's Kendall /Lefty McKee. This is Turner /Turner Schaus, and we are coming at you live with some fun talk about cards today, and we've got some fun little things packed for you. Turner Time today is going to be full of a former segment. We want to have a little bit of fun with that. We're going to touch on what do the Browns do at quarterback. I think you guys know where we're going with that one. We're going to compare some of the pre-sales versus the sales of the week of some cards that I gave a little nod to a couple weeks ago, and then we're going to have some segments about our Panini Instant Plays. We're going to break down some of that, and we're going to ask some questions and further evaluation of what we do with those plays. But thank you for listening today. We're glad that you're here with us. We're glad that you are locked in here with some cards, and maybe, just maybe today, you will find some information today that helps your portfolio build for tomorrow. Turner Schaus yourself. How are you, my man?
I'm doing good. I'm thankful that there's a pre-show of the Ducks because I dropped my microphone once again, but it's all locked and loaded now. We're good to go. So,
atta babe,
ready to go. And
if you're watching with us on YouTube, don't worry. His roommate's not busting in. He's got a solo room this year, ladies and gentlemen. The junior class privileges gets a dorm room to themselves. So, Turner, he's thriving. We need to know, when's your first game?
I want to say November 8th.
Oh, man. Should I StreamYard the entire game? I'll just announce it from the stage.
Well, it's an away game, so I can look up the first home game for you real quick. But our first home game is let me see here. We got the great Wi-Fi at my university.
It's not much better just 1 block away where I live. So
exactly. But yeah, I am definitely excited for this year. I'm trying to stall here while I'm loading this up.
While you're loading the schedule up.
Right. Okay, here we go. So, first home game is Tuesday, November 12th.
Tuesday, November 12th will be right after a Lefty Cards episode. So we will definitely need a scouting report from you that day on the team you're going to play.
Yes, we'll have pre-show for that.
We're definitely going to pre-show it. I'm going to probably make a Turner card. It's going to release on Lefty Cards Instant, and people will be able to flip it, and we'll PSA 10 it for sure. It'll be.
We'll definitely have a limited signature run on it too. We'll definitely throw some autos in there.
Yeah, got to, dude. You gotta sign one future Rookie of the Year or some sort of crazy stuff.
I gotta have a special signature on one of them to make it a 1-of-1 card, something.
Yeah, there you go. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited about you going into your college basketball season this year. I know it's the first year that you guys are competing in your conference in D3, and so the soccer team here is doing pretty well too. They are in second in the conference, and so hopefully that gives you guys the juice to go into your conference games as well and compete nationally. Well, that's enough said about that. Enough said about D3 basketball. But what we do have to talk about today is Turner. How long does Deshaun Watson get to be the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns? They've got to be having some Crab Legs Winston coming in soon, brother. They've got to be doing it. What are your thoughts?
I'm ready to make some money. That's what my response is. I've got four of these Jameis cards ready to be sold. No, I think honestly, and you probably are thinking the same thing too. They gave Deshaun Watson a boatload of money. They're trying not to look like idiots right now. That's my thought process is if they didn't have him on such a huge contract, then Deshaun would have been benched probably 2 games ago. So.
Yeah, I was listening. Another team that's in hot water is the Dallas Cowboys, and I was listening to some conversations this morning about what are the Cowboys going to do, considering Jerry Jones doesn't often talk about how bad the situation is, and when they were talking last night and when they asked him about it, he just looked so bleakly, and he was just like, "We've got to do something." And historically, he hasn't owned up to how bad the scenario was. And so people are saying historically, he hasn't even owned up to how bad it is. And now he's saying this isn't good. And therefore, there could be heads rolling, but he's probably not going to go out and fire Mark McCarthy. He's not going to bench the guy he just paid big money to. So that's Dak and CD. And so what's going to happen? And people are speculating, and this whole discussion was speculating on what are the Cowboys going to do? And I think it was reflecting on me. I think this is the same discussion that the Browns are going to have, because the commentator on ESPN, and I was just listening to it in the background while I was doing some homework, so I wasn't really looking at who was talking. But what they were saying was the Dallas Cowboys is going to have to make a move somehow, big profile, to shake people from the monotony of this. They're either going to have to make a big coaching change, they're either going to have to bench a starter, or they're going to either have to, maybe fire an owner, or there's going to be something that is drastic. Now, we know that the Cowboys are not going to fire their owner. Jerry Jones is not going to fire himself. That's not going to happen. Mike McCarthy's probably not going to go anywhere. Dak and CD are not going to get benched. And so you would think that it would have to be a defensive player that probably gets benched or something like that. So then when I was putting that in our situation with the Cleveland Browns, I said, okay, they could fire a coach. Kevin Stefanski could get fired. They could move out from Deshaun. They owe him a ton of money. And the lawsuit that we talked about a couple weeks ago that could potentially get them out of it has now been dropped. So they're on the hook for it. Plus, I don't know what's going on in that front office. So I think there will be a shakeup going on soon, but I think Kevin Stefanski has kind of had his hands tied. It looks like that a little bit, where the ownership is saying, we are committed to this ship at least until, I don't know, maybe they say at least until game 8 or something, or week 8, we are committed to Deshaun's not going anywhere. And maybe they've had those discussions internally, like, if this isn't better, give us 8 weeks to figure out if we can do this. I think, in my perception, I think that Deshaun would go before Kevin Stefanski. So I would think that they would try to move into Crab Legs to see if he could do anything special before then, which would be either this week or next week, would be week 7 or week 8. Looking forward, we've got the Bengals this week, which could be an absolute rock fight. Could be. I mean, the Bengals won this week, but it was ugly. And the Browns honestly competed with the Eagles, which says more about where the Eagles are at, I think, than the Browns. So also there was a period in the second half where Deshaun did go 11 for 11. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. But all that to being said, I think these cards will be valuable within the next 2 weeks. And I think on the given trajectory, I would imagine that week 8 would probably be the selling point for Jameis. I would imagine that he's in the game before the end of the season. And the division their division is kind of up for grabs, and the Browns have to do something. This is the bleakest place we've ever been. So how does that sound to you?
Yeah, I think the only thing with the last part, with the division being up in the air, the Ravens are definitely going to take that division. I'm pretty sure.
You're so right. Yeah,
But
thanks for bringing that up, because honestly, I said that and then I was like, dog, no, it's not. It might be up for grabs potentially between the Steelers and the Ravens, because the Steelers are playing good football, but the Ravens are so much better. They're much better.
I think, on a side note, something that's ridiculous is looking at the year the Bengals have had, because whenever you look at it in the record, it's like, okay, they're not doing well. Joe Burrow is having a heck of a year.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, I remember at one point, like, he was leading the NFL in touchdowns, but at the time they were like 1-3, for example, or something like that. 1-3, 1-2, something like that. He's
having a pretty spectacular year.
Yeah, it's just that the tension with the Bengals is getting so bad to where Jamar Chase is probably gone after this year. And even, like, Zach Taylor may get fired after this year. Like, I mean, if they don't have a successful year with a team like they do now.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good year so far. He's in terms of half PPR rankings, he is 4th in all of football, which actually he was also 4th in all of football at the end of 2022, and at the end of 2021 he was 7th in all of football. So he's had these kind of years previously, and he's got 12 touchdowns already. In 23 he had 15. So I mean, like, this is a good year for Burrow. And I know that last year he was about halfway played and all that kind of stuff. I get it. But he's got 1,500 yards already. I mean, he's having a really good season. And when you look at his fantasy production, it's pretty incredible. I mean, he had a couple of novice games. He had the first bad game where he came on through 164 against New England. Like, that just was terrible. But then he's like 258, 324, 232, 392, 5 touchdowns. I mean, the guy's balling.
And they still lost that game.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, they lost the game in Baltimore in overtime with 5 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then this last week he throws 208.
Yeah, at that point, it's like, if one's going to play the blame game, you got to blame the defense, because the offense was going bananas.
And their defense stepped it up this week, and they won by 10. So thanks to a late touchdown. I mean, it was a close game. But speaking of, absolutely love what Chase Brown is putting on the field right now for this bank. If there's a Bengals offensive player that I wished I had some cards previous for, it's Chase Brown, because this guy is going to be the leader of this backfield. Moss is not going to be carrying it that far. And you do have some 2023 Panini Contender stuff of his that's out there. So there are cards out here of Chase Brown. I wouldn't buy them now by any means, but this guy getting drafted out of, I believe, Illinois, maybe? Yeah, University of Illinois. He's been really good for the Bengals this year, and he had that touchdown late. So
they've got a couple of young guys who I think are going to be solid in the next couple of years. Like, if they can develop them right, him being one of them, and then I want to say the wide receiver 3 for them. I'd have to look that up.
What? Oh yeah, Andre Isovius.
Yes.
So he was a track star back in the day, and then he all of a sudden decided to play football.
Really?
This guy's pretty good. Yeah, he went to Princeton and was like a high jumper or something like that. But pretty cool. Yeah, all that to say, although this division is all but wrapped up to be a Ravens division, this is which I'll just toot my own horn here, saying we picked him. We picked Lamar earlier to be the quarterback worth investing in, and then I secondarily picked Jared Goff, which both of those are playing off big time.
Yeah, speaking of Goff, yesterday the Lions had a ridiculous win. But with that, Aiden Hutchinson is done for the year.
Yeah. I mean, you never like to see the Anderson Silva leg snap happen in the middle of the game. But yeah, so our quarterbacks are looking good. Deshaun is probably going to get moved out. This is just an interesting division sports card wise because, you had Deshaun, which I actually bought a card of Deshaun Watson for $60. I bought a red and orange rated rookie PSA 10. Bought it for $60. Thought it was an okay investment. Ended up looking back on it. I did not make a good investment because I sold it yesterday for $21. So definitely down on that for sure. But I wanted to just get back something and wanted to get out of it before he was actually benched. So I ended up moving out of it now just because $40 in the grand scheme of things is okay. And I can end up putting that 20 back into something else. But then the other quarterback situation with the Steelers, you've got Russell that's now healthy and still getting further down the depth chart than Justin Fields, which is exactly what we all expected, but it's exactly the narrative that the Pittsburgh Steelers were not painting. So, like, if you invested in Fields early in the offseason, then great. Good job for you. It's probably looking well. And then you've got Lamar Jackson, who's flying up every single chart. And then so that it's going to be a good time for me to sell his cards. And then the fourth team is Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and Joe Burrow. If you were to buy into Joe Burrow right now, I feel like now could probably be a low point. They're probably going to beat the Browns, which brings them back to 500 ball, I believe, or at least close to that. They're going to play the Browns again, which is probably going to be another win. I don't believe in the Steelers long term. I think they could beat that team. So there's a couple of teams. I know they have to play the Ravens again, but it was a rock fight the first time. It could be a rock fight the second time. So Burrow could end up making the playoffs, and this could be the lowest that his cards are at. How do you feel about that take?
Oh, you don't have to tell me twice. I'm holding a Joe Burrow card right now.
So would you double down on your dollar cost average?
Yeah, I definitely would. I'm not actually going to do it just because I have like money and other things right now. But do
you have the regular Prism?
Yes, I do.
So right now that card's at $94 last average sale. $94.
Okay, that rose a little bit from what I last saw.
What'd you buy it in at? $120?
I'm looking at my purchases right now. I'll see on here, but I'm pretty sure yes, it was at $120. Let's double check here. Yeah, Joe Burrow, $125.
Yeah, so last week this card was at $80. With the win this week, as of 2 days ago, so before the game was over, before the game was over, this sold for $94, and there was 8 of them sold at $94. So, I mean, people are still believing in Joe Burrow. I believe this card will open back up. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
So 125 is not out of the question by any means.
Yeah. I
think I may double down on this card.
Yeah.
I think I may go get one.
I would too, because like it's only up from here. I mean, Joe Burrow's got his confidence back. He's going crazy, like I said. It's just a matter of piling up wins now, because once he starts piling up wins and people are seeing like his crazy stats, like they're going to be like, okay, this guy never really fell off. It was just that his team was losing games. Because sometimes it is just like the quarterback stinking and the whole team stinking. But sometimes it's just like a bunch of other things, like the secondary may be off for a team, or the defensive line may be off, but the quarterback's going crazy. And this is one of those times. So yes, to answer your question once again, I would definitely double down and get more of Joe.
Well, let's get a little more practical, okay? So as of September 24th, the Prism card that you bought was at $111, okay? Wait, let me back up a little further. September 11th, your card was at $127. September 23rd, it was at $102, okay? And then as of 10/9, it was at $80. Okay, so that's a pretty big fall, but not like a bunch, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Not like a lot of monetary value. The silver version of that card, you ready for this?
I'm
Went
interested
from
in this.
2K in that same time period, 2K to 1.6K to 1.2K. So you are down $800 in the last two sales of the silver. Most recently, it sold for 1.2K. Now, I know that's a little bit of a pop count difference considering that the PSA 10 of the silver is 276 and the like there's a pop count of 276 and the other one is a pop count of 747 or 7,475. But so sorry, not 747. Much different than what I was talking about. But look at this chart, man. Like you see a steadiness here, and I know like if we zoomed in, it wouldn't be that steady. But this is brutal. Like that is some extreme wealth that's out of that purchase power, which would say to me that this is also worth purchasing. I would say. I would probably think that $1,000 is the low threshold on that card.
It's the lowest in the 90 days, and probably
if you look at 180 days, it's even worse, and if you look at 365 days, so this was back when he was injured the first time, and it was at 1.28K back then, and now it's at 1.22K. So
and
this
was
actually
playing a lot better now than he was last year.
Right, and it's lower than it was before the injury.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
So, in my opinion, I mean, look at this one. Your card went down to $60 when he was injured, but now it's at $100.
And I'm complaining now.
Yeah. Don't complain. Just lock it in. Lock it in with this guy here. I mean, look at this chart. Pretty healthy. You're almost at a bottom. I would say that you're probably going to push it back up. So
yeah, I'm patient.
All right. Speaking of cards that we've mentioned in the near past, I wanted to talk about a card that we looked at a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying that I think this card could get some rise. And this is the card we're talking about. So I'm going to add it to the screen here for those of you guys that are not watching live with us. We're talking about a PSA 8 of a 2000 Pacific Pablo Sanchez Backyard Baseball 2001 edition card. This is a PSA 8, very, very, very low pop count on this card, obviously. And for those of you that are like, what the frick is this? This was a card that was given out in the video game release of Backyard Baseball 2001, one of the most cult-followed sports games of all time, especially in the generation that is in between mine and probably 40 years old. This was like the game that we played on the computer to learn basically the rules of baseball. And it went into other sports. It's backyard baseball, backyard football, backyard basketball, soccer, hockey. They went into a bunch of them. They were very, very popular. They were like pretty much every kid was playing it on the computer. And this card is now graded with PSA. It's a PSA 8. When I brought this card up to us a couple of weeks ago, I said I believe that this card could get some residual rise with the release of the game re-releasing. So long story short, the game has had a really, really hard time finding the original code, like the original code for the game. So they couldn't re-release it on a modern platform because it just didn't work. And so, sorry, I just unplugged my mouse, I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I unplugged something from my computer and nothing shut off. So I was like, okay, I guess we're good. My foot dragged against one of the USB cords on the back of the computer. So something is not working correctly. Can't figure out what it is yet, but everything looks to be working fine on the stream. So we're good. Okay. Back to what I was saying. They lost the original source code for this game, so they couldn't re-release it. Well, they finally backward engineered, did a bunch of smart people stuff, and got this game back on Steam, and it re-released on the 10th. So 4 days ago. So my hypothesis was I believe that this card will actually get this card will get rebought at a new all-time high. And so I was kind of toying with like trying to figure out one. All of them are pretty expensive because of the low pop counts and stuff like that. But I just wanted to come with you at you with some data. This card on August 14th, 2024, the same or not the same card specifically, but a PSA 8 of this card sold for $215. This card sold this week for $499. So almost a double within a couple of months. And the game had already been announced at the $215 mark. So if you look at just a PSA 8 selling, I don't know how far 130 point goes back, or how far, let's see, PSA 8 specifically. Maybe if we can get that pulled up. We have one in August. Another one in August. Let's see. Do we have any from like earlier this year, maybe? Nothing. Okay. So I was hoping that maybe we could see some data from this card, like maybe in 2001 or 2002. I mean, sorry, that's way far back. 2021, 2022. If this card had sold at all in the ramp up before that, when this game was not even being mentioned, but that's just not the case. So at least in 3 months, we've seen a doubling of this card, which is what I thought it would be at. I thought it would around double of this card. And when you look at the 7. The 7 is actually up $50 as well on the week. So even though it's not as big of a jump, it went from $200 to $250 in this last week. And then there are also some other Pablo Sanchez cards, Secret Weapon, etc., and other little parallels of him from other games that are getting sold as well. So I like. All in all, to say, I think we were right by saying that this could probably vault the success of this card, and it did. The problem with this card is the pop count. That's where it really doesn't make sense for everyone to be looking at this card, but it is something that this is another key point where we can look back on and say that this is something that could residually rise a card. And we've seen some of those things by nostalgia driving up card prices in the past, and this is yet another case where nostalgia drives up card prices in the forefront. Anything you got there?
Listen to Lefty McKee.
There you go. All right, let's hit our first commercial break, and then we'll come back with yet another edition of Turner Time.
What's up, everyone? I'm Paul Hickey with NoOffSeason.com. Why should you subscribe to NoOffSeason.com's premium membership? Do you like the content on this show? Want more? Well, a free 30-day trial membership at NoOffSeason.com gives you a Friday edition of the Sports Card Strategy Show called The Overflow Show. It's a premium podcast for members only every Friday, and you can ask an unlimited amount of questions to build your sports card investment portfolio, and I answer them for you. I put in the work, research, and do the analysis, give you the best possible answer so you can increase your chances of making money flipping sports cards. And if that's not enough reason to sign up for a free 30-day trial today, you get Sports Card School, tons of premium members-only articles, and our new formula-based sports card rankings to help you find the cards with the best ROI to make money in the hobby. Sign up today at NoOffSeason.com.
And now, coming at you live, it is Turner Time. We love this segment of our show. We've just put it in the past couple of weeks, and we give Turner a full segment of a 10 to 15 minutes where he just goes hard on whatever he wants to talk about. So 2 weeks ago, don't remember what it was. Last week, I remember he was talking about Lonzo Ball, and he convinced me of that he's a good investment. So Turner Time is now, and we can't wait to see what you have. Hit us with it, Turner.
Today, we're going to do the OG Gauntlet.
Yeah.
So I've got 6 different matchups we're going to go through today. We're going to look at different cards and see what is a better investment for just our overall portfolio. So
all right, okay, I like that. So I'll you give me the cards, I'll put them into market movers, and then I'll share the screen.
So our first one, we're going to start a little slower here. It's going to be Brandon Miller, silver, PSA 10.
All right, Brandon Miller, silver, PSA 10.
Versus Scoot Henderson's silver, PSA 10.
Scoot Henderson's PSA 10. All right, talk about him.
So you can see that. I think, yeah, it's down there. Okay. So Scoot Henderson is cheaper, but This is just a debate about who's second best in the 2023 Prism class, because of course Wemby's in there, and he's going to be number one. But this is a debate about who's a more worthy investment, and in my opinion, it's Brandon Miller. But it's just because Brandon Miller has more tools to his bag, and he showed some promising signs his first year. Whenever Scoot Henderson, that Portland Trailblazers team, even though they got rid of Dame Lillard, they have guards galore over there right now. And so I am not the biggest Scoot Henderson fan. I think that he would thrive anywhere else. But that's why I think that Brandon Miller is a better fit for its second best player in this class. What do you think?
I just don't know if I trust anyone on the Hornets. I don't know if I trust anybody in this franchise right now. And I know that we've had investable players from the Hornets in the past, i.e. Melo. He's the best version of that, and he will be back and healthy, I believe, this year too. So maybe this franchise is a little bit better, but I can't imagine that a $113 Scoot Henderson is not going to be higher than that in a couple of months. And if we look at the 365-day data, it was pretty low at one point. I mean, you could get this card for $49 at one point. So I can't imagine, he's fought for respect a little bit. There is a couple of guys on that roster that I think he's still under. Of course, Simons is going to be the guy with the rock for the most part in that team. But I think they're going to have to see what they have in Scoot. So I trust the likelihood that Scoot's prices are going to go up more than I trust the likelihood of Brandon Miller's card price going up.
That's valid, and I respect that. And one smaller player who played a decent amount last year was Malcolm Brogdon, who moved on from the Trailblazers.
Oh yeah,
and because he got a decent amount of clock with him, so he might Scoot Henderson might slide into that starting point guard spot with Simons at the 2. That would be an interesting thing to see. I just think that I just feel like at some point the Hornets need to get over this hump. And I feel like it might be in the next year or two. I don't think that they're going to make a big playoff run, but they could be a potential play-in team. They were a play-in team, I think, about 2 or 3 years ago, whenever LaMelo was an all-star. So they had potential, and Brandon Miller averaged 15 to 17 at Alabama. So I just that's why I think. But I see the point.
Wasn't he at Auburn though?
Bama.
Oh, okay. And so I looked at the Portland Trailblazers depth chart. As of right now, Scoot Henderson is labeled as the starting point guard with Anthony Simons at the shooting guard. Yeah. You don't have anybody basically there that's backing him up other than Anthony Simons. Shaedon Sharpe is there, but he's probably a small forward. Devontae Graham would be the most equivalent backup for him. So it kind of looks like they're really moving full on Scoot Henderson. So to me, it's probably determining when is Anthony come back from injury, and some of that kind of stuff. But to me, it would seem that Scoot Henderson could be the potential better play. Not will be, but could be. And I think I would rather invest $113 rather than $199.
Yeah, definitely makes sense.
Cool. What's the next one?
All right, we've got Paul Skeens versus Jackson Holiday.
Whoo! All right, Paul Skeens.
I'll let you pick the cards here.
Bowman Chrome Auto.
Joel Kaplan just said that Shaedon Sharpe is hurt as well, which I guess I didn't even know that. So, I wonder what. About 46 weeks. So.
Okay, Paul Skeens against who?
Against Jackson Holiday. Honestly, do you think that it would be a better matchup for Jackson Holiday or Ellie De La Cruz?
Probably Jackson, because you are predicting what's going to go on in the next 12 months for these guys if you're investing in this card right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to look at the auto, the PSA 10. There we go. Okay, so and actually these cards are fairly comparable right now. I thought they wouldn't be. So you've got Skeens coming in at $845, and the last sold of Jackson Holiday is $705. Which is crazy because both of these cards were going for multiple thousands of dollars at one point. And so if you look at the last 365 days, this data is all over the place. You know, like Jackson Holiday at one point was going for 1.58K. Now he's down to 700 because he didn't hit the major leagues the way he did. Like if you look at the line here, though, but look how often Paul Skeens is sold. I mean, if you just look at this graph, all the data points are where the sell markers are, and at least one is sold at that particular day, sometimes more than that. And so there are so many different sale points on this blue line, and that's Paul Skeens. And the baby blue line is Jackson Holiday. So still, you see that in my reflection, I would think there isn't less Jackson Holiday cards out there. There's not less of them. I mean, the pop count is different from a PSA 10, so maybe that says something about the quality. But what you can see out there is that there's people probably not selling as often because they still think that Jackson's days are ahead of him, which is where I think of too. The Orioles came into the playoffs this year, and I think we might be onto the Orioles might be facing prospect fatigue as an organization right now. Now, this is something that grab onto this for a second. We talk about prospect fatigue as specific players, but the Orioles have been building, and everybody's saying these Orioles are going to be great. These Orioles are going to be great. We got Rutschman. We got Henderson. We've got Jackson Holiday. We've got, they just have name after name after name. And then they get bounced in the first round of the playoffs again this year. And so I think everybody's looking around saying, maybe our prospects aren't really that good. And so I think, because they've been prospects for so long, really we can give them a couple of seconds, right? Like in all likelihood, we could look around and be like, guys, these guys are like 20 years old. Relax. Everybody's young on this team, really, except for like Santander, who's playing great. But I think the organization itself might be going through prospect fatigue with everybody saying this is the year that we expected to be great. Last year was a small little precursor to that, and then we did worse this year than we did last year. Like, I think everybody's hitting the uh-oh button really quickly right now. With all that being said, I think I would still take Skeens here, and here's why I say that. Skeens is on an unreal market. He is a unicorn right now in terms of what the MLB is doing for him. He's probably going to win Rookie of the Year this year. He's got a girlfriend that's heavily populated in sports media as well. And I could see his dominance still going into the next year. I think we'll see Paul Skeens for a long time in the future being one of the best players in baseball. I think Jackson Holiday has the potential to be a great player in baseball, but I don't know if he's going to be that. And we've seen how Paul Skeens is that. And so I think this $845 price point of his PSA 10 probably is pretty fair right now. And so in the end, I'm going to pick the pitcher over the hitter, actually, because I believe that Paul Skeens himself is going to be better than the prospect fatigue that I think the whole organization of the Orioles will go through over this next year.
I like it, and I'm going to go with the same thing. I'm going to go Skeens because of the hype aspect, along with the Pirates didn't make the playoffs, and so Paul Skeens hasn't been talked about for probably like a month and a half, probably more than that. So once he gets talked about again, his card prices are going to go up, and that's with the hype part, and that's why I emphasized about Connor Bedard too, because Connor Bedard did not make the playoffs. But Connor Bedard is one of the most hyped up prospects in NFL and NHL, and now his card prices are going back up. So I think the same thing's going to happen with Skeens. I think that Holiday will have some good selling markers in the future too, but I think that Skeens' card will go up more.
Cool. What's the next one? Let's do one more.
Okay. Um, I'll ask you here. Do you want to go with Page versus Juju or Wemby versus Stroud?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm prepared to do Wemby versus Stroud. That feels like a whole episode.
Okay, we'll go Page versus Juju then.
All right, Page Beckers. Which card? An auto?
Yeah, we'll go with an auto.
All right, PSA 10 auto. Here we go. And then Juju.
Yeah.
Is it JU?
Yeah. And then Watkins.
Watkins auto. Let's see. There we go. All right. So the two girls.
That surprised me. I thought that because I didn't specifically look at the data, I did not know that Juju's card is more expensive.
Juju's card is more expensive, and they've only been sold in a PSA 10 apparently one time over the past which is hard to believe, I would imagine. So 5-4 was probably right during March or right after March Madness when she probably announced that she was going back, and then Juju was this summer. I don't know what the pop count of these cards are because it doesn't tell me here, but I imagine it's not very high. Because there's, I guess, not that many of these cards, which surprises me. So we're going off of very limited data, which is always funny to have very limited data in a gauntlet. So you're pretty much going off of emotion, which is what we don't love to do here at Lefty Cards and in the sports card strategy. But what I would love to do here is potentially, I'm a full-on believer in Page. So to me, I know that we see this differently, so I want to hear what you have to say too. But to me, there are way more people that know who Paige is, and there are way less people who know who Juju is. The reason being is because of the class of high schoolers that they were in. Paige gets lumped in with all of the Caitlin and the Angel and all those other girls that have already now been in the WNBA. Paige is going to get into the WNBA a year later than them, which is very good, I would assume, for her media presence. So I would think Paige is going to be the one that's nationally televised and going to be the one that's nationally pushed, especially when it comes to the tournament. It might end up being a Paige versus Juju situation, like they might promote them both, but I think more people will be aware of Paige than will be aware of Juju. Now, in this price point, you see about a $50 difference between these two girls, Juju leading the way. Now, I don't know if that's just because there's only one sold or what, something like that, but I would still take a Page card here. And I do have an auto of a Page Beckers. So I do have one, and it's in a PSA 9. So I guess I am on Page. What are you at?
Page. I am going with Juju Watkins, and here's my reasoning. I know that Page is closer to the WNBA draft, but that means there is more leeway for Juju to have more selling markers. This past month alone, Juju signed with Nike. I don't know if you saw that.
Okay.
But yeah, with her playing at USC and balling out her freshman year, USC is definitely a school that is definitely going to get a lot of attention over time. She had a pretty solid March Madness run. If she has another good season this year, her card prices are going to go through the roof because people are going to see that, oh, she has another year after this year. So people are just like with Caitlin Clark, because you see that 2022 Bowman Chrome is the same as Caitlin Clark's first. People are going to try to jump on the Juju train. And so that's my thought here, is that basically from the hype perspective of, oh, she's getting all these brand deals. She's in California compared to Connecticut. So there's going to be a lot more just like streamlines and just headlines of people just like covering her. Of course, UConn women's basketball is UConn women's basketball. But outside of the basketball press, you're still going to get a lot of like Instagram feeds and Twitter about a girl who plays for University of Southern California. if that makes sense. So I'm seeing it again from a high perspective a little bit, but along with Juju can hoop, and she's got more time in college.
All right. Well, I'll take it. I'll take it for your word, and I think we can agree to disagree here, and especially without the data to really prove anything. I know that both of these girls out of 499s are selling a little bit differently than their base cards, so maybe that's where we could get a more compelling data in the future. But then, all right, so I'm going to push it back to you. I chose these two guys in my first ones. So let me put it to you this way: you get 1 Paul Skeens or 8 Scoot Hendersons. Where are you going? Or 7 Scoot Hendersons.
Yeah. I feel like that Skeens card's going to go to like $1,300 or something like that during the spring baseball year, and okay. I feel like the Scoot cards might go up to about maybe 170, maybe 150 or 175. So I guess if I say it like that, then the Scoots would get more profit.
Well, if you're taking, let's see, 113 times 7 is $791.
Okay.
So what's 845 plus 790? Is that what I said? 1,600.
So. 1,600. So I'm going to be bold here and say Scoot Henderson, because there's more leeway with 7 cards. There's going to be multiple markers for Scoot Henderson to surprise people, and the surprise aspect is going to get the hype, basically. And then people are going to start wanting his cards because it's like people are going to find out that he can actually hoop. And so then those cards will go up. People know that Skeens can pitch. It's just that his name isn't talked about right now because he isn't in the playoffs. His cards will go up in the spring, but probably not as much as Scoot if Scoot decides to be productive this year.
Nice. Well, let's hit another commercial break. We'll come back to what we have been buying and selling, and then we will hit you back soon.
Kendall, are these people ready to start grading their sports cards? CGC Cards is the perfect place to slab your favorite sports cards. From their crystal clear holders to their affordable pricing, CGC Cards is the perfect stop for your grading needs. Go to cgccards.com to start grading today.
Awesome. There's some awesome new developments at nooffseason.com with CGC. We've gotten a great partnership with them, and your premium membership goes so much further now when we have a partnership with CGC's grading company and how you can get different advantages that way. So definitely go check that out at nooffseason.com. We'd love to push you that direction. So Turner, really quickly, we're going to do a couple of segments because we're already over our classic 45 minutes because we got so heated about the gauntlet / Pablo Sanchez. But we're going to talk about what our most recent buys are. So talk to me about your most recent buy.
So my most recent buy is, besides the Caitlin Clark that we talked about last week, I got more Panini Instant Arch Manning cards. I got the vertical one. It's called, AMC is the card name on it. There's another Panini Instant, got the 25 pack, and just for the pre-sale, basically. I'm not going to take any of these and take them to grading like the last ones that we talked about. Even if I could make more money on that, I'm already submitting a decent amount of cards these days. So, and my budget isn't super high to grade every card in existence. But I'm looking at my orders here. Just double check here. I've sold, I think I've sold a couple Arch Manning so far. And just with the pre-sales, I sold it for $7.25, which is solid.
Which card is it again?
So it's Panini Instant Arch Manning, and then it's hashtag AMC.
All right, I'm trying to look it up on the Panini website.
Oh, it's not available anymore.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes you're able to find them if they're already out of stock. Like you can at least just see them.
Okay.
It doesn't look like you can even see it. So
let me try to go over here. Click on this card, maybe. Try not to show my info.
Show the info.
Right. Let me see if I can do this.
So you bought another Panini Instant card that was not
Is this showing?
Oh yeah. It looks like you have it pulled up.
What do I gotta do here?
So this is the one that you bought into.
Yes.
So this was the one that came out a week after the ones that we thought of, right?
Right.
Cool. And so I ended up getting the AMA version of this card, which is
I can probably put that one up as well.
Here we go. This version of this card. I got this version of the card, and I'm going to grade these suckers. So pretty excited about that. I want to get into some Arch Manning, and I got 4 autographed versions of these cards as well. So looking forward to that. My recent buy, though, is a little bit different than where we thought we were originally going to go. And I was talking to Paul about this the other day, and I think this is an opportunity that we have gone away from, but might be a good time to buy back in. And now I'm saying this is a good time to buy back in. I'm saying it might be. It's something that I'm testing out the waters on. So my most recent buy actually is a lot of 2, and I have a lot of 3 coming as well, is a lot of 2 of these Caitlin Clark draft night cards, because I looked at these, they look centered well, the corners look well. If I get 2 10s out of these are going to be 300-ish or 250-ish a piece, and I'm buying them for about $106 a piece. With grading fees, I should make some good profit on these. Now, if they're 9s, I pretty much go even, but I'm also in the I think I overpaid for these. I accidentally put that my high bid would be 300 instead of 200. And so I got these at $212, which is it's a good and a bad thing. I think it'll be a good research for me, but I think that there's still a play to be made if you can find some cheap versions of these cards to get back in on this Caitlin Clark draft night play, because I do think that this is the card going forward. That is the card that, at least until like Prism comes out and her Prism autographs, I think this will have some sort of market going forward. So I'm going to buy back in a couple of these and send them back in for grading, because I made so much money on them the first time. I'm going to go back to the well and see if there's any residual money still to be made here. How's that sound?
I like it. Yeah, I think that card and the Rookie of the Year card are going to be the main 2.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to also hopefully profit big off of the Rookie of the Year card. Currently, I have let's see, I have a different Caitlin Clark card that's selling really well on Instagram, actually, or not on Instagram, on eBay for my pre-sale stuff. So I have this card that is actually selling pretty well on eBay right now, and it's just she stacks up a milestone for. It's that milestone patch up there, and it was her like record-setting triple doubles or something like that, or double doubles. And so this card is actually selling pretty well. I'm almost sold out of my whole first 25 pack of these, selling them at about $8 a piece. So that'll be a good profit for me as well. So Caitlin Clark to the moon, baby.
Yeah, I actually also have been selling a horizontal one pretty well. I've sold. I got a 25 pack of that, and I've sold 10 for about $7 a piece so far. And along with that, like, because I got that in the same purchase that I got the Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clarks, and I have already sold 15 of the Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clarks, and I've got my profit on that. And so I'm gonna grade the last 10.
What is the average pre-sale for that going for?
I can look it up.
About $8 to $10. Or are you charging more for that?
I sold them for, let me see here. I'd have to look it up because I sold them in lots, actually. Let's look it up.
It looks like they're selling for around $7 or $8 a piece.
So what I did and is I actually sold a lot of 10 and a lot of 5, and then
Cool.
That's 15.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's
good job. Good math, Turner.
Good math.
All right, we're going to jump to our last commercial, and then we're going to come back and sign off pretty quickly after that. So stay with us here.
Lefty, we say that breaking is... Yo, Lefty, we use a lot of data, don't we? Well, I just want everyone to know that they can get the same data we get by signing up at marketmoversapp.com. Sign up at marketmoversapp.com today, but use the promo code NOOFFSEASON to save 20% after a free 14-day trial. That's marketmoversapp.com, promo code NOOFFSEASON.
The data that you've seen on this episode today is from Market Movers. If you are watching with us live, I've been able to chart some cards from the Market Movers app online, and it is my favorite card selection card price service outside of 130 point, but it does pull 130 point as well into Market Movers. So we're excited about what we're doing here at the Lefty Card Show. Turner, is there any last parting words or any parting sports takes you want to give the audience today?
Bills by 1,000 today. They are
Bills by 1,000.
They are going to destroy the Jets.
I took a prop today of the Allen, the secondary running back for the Jets. I took him over 10 or over 9.5 receiving yards today. So I'm pretty excited about that. I also took Yankees in the series against Cleveland. So those are what you're getting from Lefty McKee this week. Those are hot, juicy takes. One of them actually is. One of them is absolutely not a hot and juicy take. Very conservative. Other than that, playoff baseball still going. Shohei to the moon, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Lefty, great work on today's show. Thanks for supporting Lefty Cards, part of the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. Get a free 30-day trial today at NoOffSeason.com to check out our formula-based sports card rankings to help you make money flipping sports cards. Subscribe to Lefty Cards on YouTube and follow us on socials by visiting leftycards.com.